Through the interview process, we have lots of layers. We have lots of elements and opportunities for the candidate to engage with existing staff and colleagues at the Trust. We encourage them to speak and meet with the children. The children like to ask them questions as well and find out about them. We like to offer them more formal sides of the interview where we ask them specific questions about their career and their opportunities so far. We also really heavily give them a space for self-reflection. So when they come to the interview, we'll ask them to prepare their own character profile so they've had time to reflect.
Most schools, and certainly the schools that I have visited, they take the whole interview process for new candidates applying to the school very seriously indeed. And actually the best schools make sure that that person is there all day, because it's important that the individual is able to discern the character culture of the school, and they've got to decide whether they're going to be happy there. So they need to have lots of opportunities for that.
We're not after perfect robots. We want individuals, we want people with character, people of substance, and we want to try and really get evidence of what they're like, what their personality is like, what they're really like, not an act you put on for an interview.
We ensure candidates have a range of opportunities to be able to demonstrate their own character throughout the interview process. Now the process really depends on the role. So for potential teachers, we will always do a lesson observation.
If we have a wide field, then we might be a bit courageous in the type of lesson that we ask them to teach and ask them to focus on. For example, in English, find a poem that would help you to talk about empathy. Or if it's in chemistry, can you teach a lesson that elicits an understanding of critical thinking?
The lesson observation is crucial because that's where I would be looking for virtues in practice. So are potential candidates kind? Are they compassionate? I look at how they speak and act and how they listen to children. Are they aware of the needs of all pupils so that their practice is inclusive with a very caring, nurturing approach?
In terms of the interview stage itself, we give the questions to the candidates before the interview. It gives them a chance to go away and reflect and come back with some really strong answers. And what we found with that is much richer discussions and interview process.
The formal interview always starts with a question, why do you want to work in a school of character? So we hope that elicits their understanding of the school, our philosophy, our links to the Jubilee Centre, the framework that we follow.
During the interview, I'm looking for an element of confidence, I'm looking for passion and enthusiasm, I'm looking for them to be humble.
Question 2 of our interviews is always around character. And it'll depend on the role what the question is. And so, for example, if it's a teacher, you're going to be in the classroom 90% of the time teaching. How are you going to develop young people's character in that role? Whereas if it's a middle leader or senior leader, I might say, okay, is developing character or strong outcomes more important? Which is, and discuss with me. It's more about them as a person than the actual pedagogy, because the pedagogy is something we can teach quite quickly when they come on board.
As part of our interview process, we have designed and sent out to potential candidates a recruitment package. Within that, we ask our candidates to come to interview with a pre-prepared character profile. This is a brilliant way of having individuals reflect on the journey so far, reflect on themselves. They've brought things like photos, annotations, memories, stories, and all of that has provided a really rich beginning for our conversation.
Our students are our best ambassadors, but they are also our biggest critics. They know what they're looking for. They know what the qualities of a good teacher are. They know what they want from a professional.
Part of the interview process is meeting with the children, so we have the school council in each of the schools. They sit with the candidate and ask questions, and they also give feedback. And one of the questions, which I would hate to answer actually, is tell us a good joke. But it's about seeing whether the person can interact with the children, whether they've got humility, humour, etc.
They will have questions that are specifically about how that individual is going to bring their understanding and knowledge of character and values to their school. And what children tend to do is to ask for specific examples that are likely to be pertinent to them, and that's very, very useful.
I think it's really important to not only see a person within a formal setting, a formal interview, it's also about getting under the skin and understanding the motives of why somebody's applied for a position, but also how they interact in the day-to-day running of the school. How do they queue up in the dinner hall with the children to get their dinner? How do they interact with the people in the office? How do they interact with the members of staff as they're walking through the corridors?
This one candidate took a genuine interest in one of our members of staff who was making the teas and coffees, and actually that was really important. That showed that they were a team player, that they were interested in other people, that they showed empathy.
In order for a person to be their natural self, you want to strip away as much of the stress as possible. That's why we give them the interview questions in advance. That's why we book them a parking space and put a sign up so they don't need to worry about that. Because when you're not stressing about things as much, then you're more likely to relax and show your natural self.
All of those pieces of the jigsaw will come together, give us a big picture of the candidate at the end of the day, and hopefully enable us to make some decisions about who would be a really good fit for a school where character is at the heart of what we do.